everybody, I'm Greg from Kaivac Tech Support. We're going to do a video today to show you guys how to remove and reinstall a pump assembly. You may need to replace your motor, maybe you need to pull it out just to do some work to the pump. So first thing you need to do is make sure your water tank is empty. If your pump's not running, you can empty the water out. You can use your vacuum system. Just come through here and use your vacuum wand to pull all that water out. If your pump is running, you can use your pump. There's also a sight tube over here on this side that will work as well. You can just pull this out of here, and then down here you can just give this about a quarter of a turn backwards, and then that would drain out. It does take a little time to do that, so put that back. And so once your water tank is empty, then what you want to do is you're going to undo your remove your cords and your hoses. Remove your pressure hose from this side. Then you want to disconnect this little short vacuum hose here. If you happen to have if your chemical jugs were connected, you'd want to disconnect that. And then we've got these thumb screws that will need to come out. There's also a wing nut on each side. It needs to come out. So now we're just going to pull back on this. You can lift up on the handles a little bit, and she should lay right down. We're going to be using a lift to bring this up to work on it. But if you didn't have a lift and you wanted to get this thing up on a table to work, we're going to need to disconnect, and we'll need to do this whether or not you got a lift or not. But this clamp here has to come off. That's your water return line from your regulator. And then if you can see this down here, there's another one. This is your water feed line from your tank to your pump. So we need to remove this clamp, now if you wanted to take the whole box off and get it up on a table to work, there's two wing nuts here that hold these metal straps to the tank. There's one on this side, one on the other side. If you want to get this up on a table to work on it, you'll need to remove those as well. So let's remove these clamps here. Remove this hose here. All right, we need to remove this clamp here. And then remove this hose here. Now, if you had water in your tank, it's gonna come out right now. Alright, so we've got our hoses disconnected. The next thing we need to do is we're going to find the green wire that comes from the pump. Can you see that there? And we're going to disconnect our ground wire. There's a little, I don't know if you can see this here, but there's a little button. It's right about there. You can feel it. I'm sure you can't really see it, but if you squeeze that as you pull, that'll disconnect it. There's also a bridge rectifier in here. So the next thing you need to do is find this bridge rectifier. What I like to do is leave this white one and black one connected. Now, even though a new pump or a new motor would come with this, it just makes it easier to remember. So this red wire here, we're going to disconnect that. Right-handed. We're going to disconnect this red wire from the bridge rectifier, and then the one that's diagonal, okay? So the one that's diagonal is this black one here. That's the other pump. Now, like I said, if you are getting a new motor or even a new complete pump assembly, it'll have its own bridge rectifier. But by leaving that on there, it's going to make it easier for us when we come to put the new one in to remember which wires go where. If you look at this bridge rectifier, this one, and this one all point the same way. This one here is the only one that's different. That's your positive. You can see on the front of this, there's a little plus right here. So on DC motors, your red wire is your positive. So your red wire's always going to go there. The other wire from your pump goes diagonally from that one. So that'll help me remember. So the next thing we'll do, so you're going to need a 9/16 socket, deep well, or at least an extension, or maybe both. So we're going to remove that one. We're going to remove the bottom one. Alright, so we've disconnected our water line and return line. We've taken out our bolts. If all you're doing is replacing your motor, you can actually leave this pulse hose and regulator in there. So what you would do at that point is cut this black strap here and disconnect the regulator from here, and then you'll be able to pull your pump right out of there. But if you're replacing the whole assembly is going to come with a new regulator and pulse hose. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect it. There's a small clamp right up here. So we're going to take this clamp off so we can get the pulse hose out. So you'll need a 5/16 socket to remove this little self-tapper here. Once we have that, we can remove the little clamp. So we are going to take this little grommet out. A flathead screwdriver works pretty good. Just push it back in. One little corner started. The whole thing should pop back in. So pull your pulse hose through with the fitting. You need to fish this out from under your wires here. Now, we've got the pulse hose disconnected. Our wires are disconnected. We're disconnected from the tank. So we just lift the whole thing up and out of there. And then you can either go and put this on a workbench, do what you need to do if you're getting it out to clean the inside of this or do any other maintenance to it. If you're replacing the motor, you would go ahead and switch your pump head over to the motor, and then putting it back in is basically the same thing in reverse. You'll drop it in. Make sure your water line, feed it through this small opening down here at the bottom. Come in at a little bit of an angle. Once you've got your pump in here, then you're going to run your pulse hose back under your wire. You're going to feed it through the hole and get your grommet back in there. Once you've done that, you'll reinstall your clamp with the self-tapper to hold that in place. Your bolts here, put your bolts in and reconnect your water lines. Now, let me show you this here. Now, if you were getting a new pump or a new pump motor, it's going to have the bridge rectifier on it. So when you get that, it would actually come with the red wire already connected here and the black wire connected here, and these two would not be on there. This white, this black that comes from the switch. So what you would do is you would take them off your existing rectifier and just match that on here. So as if you can see your positive on your bridge rectifier. Okay, there's a positive there. So the red wire, straight above it, as you hold it that way in your hand, straight above it is where your black wire coming from your switch is going to go. So you'll slide that on, and then your white wire is going to go to the other open terminal there. So you're wired up properly and ready to go. So you're going to reconnect your return line here, which is the smaller of the two. It goes to the upper fitting here. Get your clamp on there, tighten it up, and then you're going to need to reconnect your water line down here. Get your clamp on there and tighten up. Now this one down here, this is the important clamp here. If this one's a little loose, it's really no big deal. You're more than likely not gonna leak. If this one here isn't working right, you're actually not going to have very much pressure if it allows air to get in there. So it's real important that this clamp down here is nice and snug. If it feels like it's stripped, replace it. This is real important for making sure you got proper pressure and water flow. And that is how you replace the pump. So from there you would just stand your black box up, put your wing nuts in here, your thumb screws up here, reconnect your pressure hoses, and you should be up and running, pressure washing and cleaning in no time.